because whether you like them, woo, or you don't, they are the best thing, woo, in the football world today. Woo!
Woo! Welcome back, y'all. It's me, Champ. This is Work 'em Silly. These podcasts are never easy to do after a loss. However, we will persevere for you, all of our loyal fans. All 180 views last week. No need to thank us. Anyway, today we're joined as ever by Doug Dickey, our returning host, and our returning guest host, Bad Take Peyton. How we feeling, fellas?
Well, I'm going to start off and I'm going to issue an apology to Gator Nation and my Twitter followers and those that sit in section 61 with me. I was an absolute psychopath on Saturday. Some of it maybe deserved, some of it not so deserved. Making baseless claims that Anthony Richardson is worse than Emory Jones and that we're back to the drawing board and maybe Dan Mullen wasn't so wrong.
That's a crazy one.
Yeah, so that was a painful moment to have to relive there just now, but you all deserve better from me. In the words of Will Muschamp, that's on me. We'll get it fixed. But pretty sad. I had to sit with my dad, who's a Kentucky fan. If you watched the show last week, you know. If you follow us on Twitter, you know. Definitely thought they overlooked us. Definitely thought we were going to blow them out of the water.
You got a little flamed on Twitter for that. I don't know if you saw.
I don't care. I don't care.
That's the risk you take.
You know. Sometimes you got to make bad takes, and I'm well on my way to being Stephen A. Smith, so that's fine with me. He makes a lot of money, and I'll be laughing all the way to the bank while all you Kentucky fans are still living in squalor and flipping couches over, claiming that you're a football school. Football schools...
those were cars.
Don't... Burning couches and flipping cars. Yeah, you're right. They don't do that. Football schools don't do that after what they think is a routine win. So enjoy the first time that you've won back-to-back in 40 plus years, because it's not happening for another 40. I can promise you that right now. I don't care if Mark Stoops stays for eternity. It doesn't matter, because we're going to improve. We're going to get better. And we're going to cram the ball down your throats in Lexington, and you guys can burn couches because you're mad and start looking back to basketball season again.
Fucking losers. Absolute losers. What about you, Peyton? How'd you do?
Not doing great, Bob.
Week.
Yeah, pretty bad week. And to see like Will Levis posting the gator that they shared after the game or whatever it was today, eating it, putting it all over on social media. It's kind of like, I don't know if they think that like a gator is like our golden like cow or something, like it's so sacred to us that we don't eat gator ourselves, or like gator's delicious. Like we eat it all the time. Gator tail, nuggets, it's fantastic. But they decide
I think in Arkansas they eat ham, you know.
Yeah, it's like at Arkansas games they're eating pulled pork outside the stadium, and
right.
You think it's
and chicken in South Carolina. So what do you want, you know?
Right. But yeah, not doing great. Pretty sad day. I felt almost the exact same feeling I felt in 2018, and it sucks that I had to go to both games with like the biggest optimism in the world. But now we're at a place where we got to rebuild. The hype is off of us. Finally, they won't be talking about us all the time, and we can start being the underdog again like Billy likes to be.
Yeah, that's the spin zone of this whole thing, is that we don't have we got all the pressures off us now. We can just focus on, establishing the fundamentals again. There was quite a bit to be desired with that performance, though. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. I think there's a lot of good and a lot of bad. And basically, the TLDR of the whole thing is I thought we were the better team. I thought we
Oh, for
played a
sure.
better game in a lot of ways. But Kentucky, they had a couple breaks, had a couple turnovers that really were the entire game. Their defense won them the game. And our defense was damn near close to doing the same for us. So, it do be like that sometimes.
I would say that, and this is like I said, I was a psychopath and in the text chat saying a lot of mean things about the quarterback play, and I will atone for my sins there. I still believe in Anthony Richardson, and I know that he's, like we talked about last week, one of his biggest critics. So he will go on and make those improvements he needs to make. But I would say not that their defense won them the game so much as Jordan Wright was granted the ability to play like Friday
Yeah.
by the NCAA, which, I mean, I don't know that it would have made that huge of a difference. Obviously, if he's not in, he doesn't make that grab. Absolute unit, though. I mean, incredible play. Bad throw, obviously. Loop it over the guy or just throw it away. Don't try to be a hero. But that's a really good play.
Yeah, crazy play.
And he's a good player. But I concur that Florida is the better team. I think that they're the more talented team for all of the great things that Will Levis could do, for all the great things that their defense did. Florida was a better team. They just, right now, you're stuck in that scenario of having, I don't know, you're just kind of wandering in the wilderness, still trying to find your identity, despite all the stuff that happened in Utah, despite all the good things that the coaching staff has done so far. I think it was a lot we've said 10-2 is the floor, and that's still there.
Yeah, it's still available. I just want to put that on record. 10-2 is still on the table very much.
Yeah.
But
But it's also like we all knew that this was going to be one of those years where it might not be that great. So if losing like I said, take your back-to-back wins, cool. I've seen as many Kentucky victories in my lifetime, and I think my dad has probably only seen, he's 60. How old is he? 62. So he's probably seen like 7 more victories Kentucky victories than I have in my lifetime. So we're doing okay. That's fine. It means more to them. We'll be all right.
yeah, true, it does.
If I told my 2017-year-old self that a Kentucky loss isn't the worst thing in the world for us, like I think I would have slapped like the shit out of me.
Yeah,
But
that is what I'm wrestling with as well. Is that like we just grew up and they were just no problem. They were another Vandy. We never had an issue with them.
But they were the number ranked 20 team. Going to be higher ranked.
They're the number
or
9
they are
ranked
higher
team
ranked
now.
Yeah, number 9 now. And I mean, I think the AP voters are just on crack this season, and they just overreact to everything. There needs to be some kind of thing in place where preseason polls don't exist, and something comes out in like week 4. But because there's
That's how the
such
CFP
overreaction.
rankings work. The CFP doesn't come out until like week 8 or something. So
Right.
I think that's how it works. But yeah, I agree. I mean, the rankings don't really mean anything yet, and that could have went way differently if before the half we don't throw that interception and they get the ball back. Well, them getting the ball back didn't matter, but I mean they had 2 interceptions that they scored touchdowns on. So it's always gonna be tough to spot somebody 14 points in a low scoring game and come out on top.
So
Yeah, and if we wanna dive into like AR's play, like think about the teams that he started against, like Georgia, Utah, Kentucky. His first 3 starts are against some of the better defensive teams that we've faced in the past year and a half, 2 years.
You're
And
right. You're right.
he didn't play well, and the defense isn't that great. But I mean, you know,
I don't know. I thought Kentucky's defense played excellent. I really was pretty impressed. I mean, it wasn't just Jordan Wright. It was that they were all in position. Like what they were doing is on the read options, they were forcing Ant to give the ball off, and then they had that guy, swallowed up immediately, or the running backs would get loose. I mean, they did several times. It wasn't really on the read options, but they would force the running back to get the ball, so they neutralized the quarterback run that way. And then when he would do the rollouts, there would be, a near guy, a middle guy, and a deep guy, and all three of those guys were covered all night. So I mean, credit to them. They did play a good game, and they had a spy on Richardson all night, and we kind of laughed that probably wouldn't work, but it did work for him. So that was the really concerning part to me, is that, like, we put out some tape that everybody's going to be looking at. Like if Georgia runs that same game plan, then it's going to be struggle city for us.
Yeah, but I think at the same time, how do you beat that? It's by making throws, and that is something that Richardson did not do. Not to,
Yeah, he was missing throws.
not
a
to
lot,
harp
for
on
sure.
it. We all saw his post game press conferences and the stuff. That, I mean, he took responsibility for it. He said, I'm the reason that we lost, and all those different things. So, and I think there is a lot of like we coming into the season. Napier was like, you've got a kid that has thrown the ball 38 times in his career. There's people that have thrown the ball 38 times in a game, at Florida. So he's got a lot of work to do, and I think that we all allowed ourselves to, as a fan base, kind of fall apart and lose the focus of, hey, this kid's pretty phenomenal. He's going to turn into something good, but it might take a little bit of time. Let's not like crown him the Heisman. Let's not put the statue up. Let's stop and think for a second, because even though he did all those great things against Utah, that he's got work to do. And I think that I worry less because I think that he can improve. He's probably the kind of person that, he's going to work really hard to improve. And so, okay, run the same defense that Kentucky ran. But if he makes even 5 or 6 more of the throws that he makes, that game turns into a totally different game. And some of them were just straight up drops by the receivers. So it sucks. It all feels awful and everything, but it's not like we're losing to a Kentucky team that isn't good. They've been pretty solid team the last few years, and we'll move on. It is what it is. We get to take our lumps
We're not.
and have an
Yeah, we're not
opportunity
losing
to
to
go
a
back at it.
Marshall.
True.
No
Yeah, that's
losses to
true.
Marshall in
Or
year.
Appalachian
What is it?
State.
4 now, or App State? Yeah.
Yeah, the Marshall one was at least in that is at least that guy's like first game, whereas Jimbo's out there losing to App State in, what is it, year 6 now? That was crazy. That was the thing too. You know what, that was what it was, is that it wasn't our fault. It was like there was upsets going around on Saturday. We had like maybe 5. Bama almost got beat. Came very as close as anybody can. So I mean, that was it. We just caught the bug. Nothing you can do.
Somebody said after week 1, they were like, I feel like this college football season is going to be like 07. And my memory doesn't, I probably wasn't paying enough attention back then. So my memory isn't great, but it must have just been chaotic and like weird shit going on. So I feel like that's, if that is true, then, weird stuff happened, and the moon was, the stars aligned for all the weird stuff to go on. It'll be all right though. I'm not too worried about
I
it.
remember that happening last year too. Last year was pretty chaotic until we got to the playoffs, and then it was chalk. But prior to that, I felt like teams were losing left and right.
Yeah,
And
but like Georgia never came close. Alabama
right.
did though. Alabama came close against us.
That's why a lot of people talking about this Texas close game, or like Texas is kind of almost back. They came within 1 point. It's like, look what happened to Florida after they came within 2 points of beating them.
Yeah, yeah. It could. I mean, anything can happen. That's college football, though. You know what I mean? Like these kids, you never know what's going through their heads, and it can flip on a dime. But I did feel like coming into this week, I was like, man, normally I would say if this was a flashy team or like a cocky team, then this would be a spot for a letdown. Like you're coming off I mean, there's been very few wins that have been bigger than that Utah game, in terms of just like an emotional roller coaster and like, we weren't really supposed to win the game and the swamp was rocking. All that shit was such a high. And then, normally you would expect a letdown, but yeah, and that ended up happening, which blows. But that's just part of it.
But I will credit. I think that what is interesting is that like, and some of it is I don't know. You have to go back to Mullen's first year and whether the fan base was hyped or not, or whether we looked at things and we were saying like, "Come on, this is so stupid." Like I don't know if we're just going through the same cycle with the coaching staff again this year, but I do feel like there's a little bit more buy-in. Like I had given up in the third quarter. I was like that we can't move the ball and we keep calling passing plays when we're only down by 7. We could just keep running the ball and cram it down their throats because I think that was working. But anyway, late in the fourth quarter, some kid sitting near us turned around and looked at everybody and was like, "We still got this. We still got this." There's like this belief that, and it's like I said last week after the Utah game, that I feel like the team isn't going to quit. And I know that I know that last year was different than like Mullen's first year, but it doesn't feel like the culture is quite as bad as it could be or could have been if it was another year of Mullen or whatever. All those different kind of things, whether it matters or not. It just seems like there's a little bit of the coaching staff has done a good job at getting the buy-in, and the crowd. The fans stuck around till the end, regardless. They even when they kicked that last field goal and put it up 10 or went up 10, the fans were still in the game. And
that's when I left.
And
I mean, that was game over right there.
Yeah, but there was still a lot of people there cheering the team on and everything, and people hung around. And I think that, like my dad mentioned, he was like, I thought that at some point that the fan base would kind of quiet down, but well into the fourth quarter when they're driving down the field, they, I think missing the field goal probably helped a little bit, but they're driving down the field. Like he was like, I was shocked that the crowd stayed in it. So, I think, like you said, you get the high in week 1, you get the low in week 2. Now you just got to find the balance between the two. The fan base stays in it. Team finds the balance between the win, the great win, and the bad loss, and then you play good, sound football the rest of the season, and you're in a good spot.
I think the alcohol in the stadium definitely helps the momentum at the end of the game within the fans. For sure. That helped definitely me, and it helped me stick around too. But
yeah, the third quarter is always so brutal. You get the hangover going, but now you just crack a beer or two, and then you're set.
Right, nice. And then you have 2 fourth down conversions that don't convert, or fourth down plays that don't convert, and you're just kind of thinking to yourself, like, was that the smartest thing in the world? Obviously, hindsight, no, because he didn't make it, and if he did, you might have been like, this is the greatest call ever. So it's kind of thinking, like, what are your thoughts? What are you guys' thoughts on going for it, both of those fourth down plays?
The first one I was pretty furious. The one that was like on the, what was it, the 30 or the 40-yard line, our own 30 or 40. That one I was like, and there was like 6 minutes left. And I was like, this is retarded. Like you will get the ball back. I promise you. And your defense has been playing lights out. It'd be one thing if the offense was rolling, then you had a play in mind that'll work. But I think it was, what was the distance? Do you remember on that one?
Yeah, it was 8 minutes left, 4th and 3 on like the 40 or something, like R40.
Yeah, and no, that was terrible call, I thought. And I was shouting.
Our punter was doing really well, like all game. Like we have a phenomenal punter, and we could have booted this one, put him in terrible positioning, 8 minutes left, and just kept the game rolling. Obviously, when you have Anthony Richardson and he's playing like he is against Utah, you kind of roll him out and he'll get you that first down. But when you've only converted 3 third downs prior to that, it's kind of scary to go for that fourth down.
Yeah, honestly, I think the ball would have been safer in Kentucky's hands. They might have turned the ball over. They were not playing very well on offense, and our defense Our defense was played a lights out game. They didn't do. I mean, besides that long touchdown, which wasn't even truly a touchdown, possibly that one was even guarded really well. So I don't think that. I don't know. I would have put the faith in them rather than the offense, which had been stalling all afternoon, and we might have ended up in better field position anyways.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that was. I mean, I respect the will to go for it, and I think
that's the scared money don't make money shit. But I mean, that's where it's there's a there's a line between scared money don't make money and dumb. There's a
yeah,
line, and I think it was on the wrong side of that. Call was
We went to the
on the wrong side
casino
of that.
and we came
Yeah,
home empty-handed.
got greedy.
yeah.
Got greedy.
Well, and
That's where you get in trouble.
on the subject of the defense playing well, I think that the one touchdown, the long touchdown throw that wasn't a touchdown because he didn't catch it. The ball hit the turf. That's fine. ESPN, I guess they don't need to place more cameras around the field to do their jobs. So, I mean, I will say that during the game, I was in there screaming that this is a waste of time because they'd already taken like 7,000 TV timeouts in the first half. But if you're gonna waste my time as a fan, you're gonna make my experience miserable because I have to be there for 7 hours instead of 3. At least have the camera angles to get a look at the ball. The broadcast didn't show anything, and I know that the officials see stuff that's different, but I don't know. The SEC officiating leaves something to be desired. Anyhow, that particular throw, the DB was in decent position. He got boxed out better by the receiver. That receiver, I think, is a pretty good. I think it's Dane Key or something like that. He's supposedly a pretty good receiver. Levis made a great throw, but at the end of the day, like you got I know that there's a question of whether or not the one play was targeting. I don't think it was, but maybe I'm crazy. I just felt like it
I
was.
thought they definitely could have ejected him there, and it wouldn't have surprised me.
I felt like it was a football play. It just happened to be that, like, Levis didn't defend himself at all, because it happened so quick. But then the roughing the passer call when the ball was thrown 17 rows into the north end zone seating, and he's still inside the tackles, and it was like, and it's the exact same play that Richardson kind of like limped off of earlier on in the game when he got tackled or he got hit around his ankles. It was just like they're
It
gifted
wasn't
one
late
there.
at all. It was
late. The
during
ball's in
the
his hand.
play.
Yeah, it's crazy. So that was pretty frustrating. All of those things, but like we've been saying, the defense played really well, made a lot of improvements. Like I don't even want to think about what the score would have been if Todd Grantham was on the sideline calling plays.
Oh, that's when you don't punt it. That's when you go for it on those fourth downs. Is when you know
If
Grantham is going to be the play caller who you're giving the
Yeah.
ball back to. But
Right.
in regards to like the Justice Boone targeting call, I looked at the replay. I didn't think it was targeting at all because they're taught now to like lift up your head, and it was like his face mask that hit into the helmet.
hit him in the helmet. It wasn't
And it's
the
just
crown
like,
of his helmet.
right, targeting
'Cause he
did
didn't
what it
duck.
was supposed to do in that moment. You don't lean down your head, you lift it up, and you hit him with the face mask. Obviously, he wasn't looking, but and then also the roughing the passer call. He didn't like dive at his knees or anything like that. He wrapped him up as he's like running to his left, and he fell over, and
Yeah,
that gave
it
him an
was
automatic
a
first.
crazy call. Crazy call.
Yeah. But the defense looks really good. I worry about like going forward, playing Tennessee, playing Georgia, playing LSU, just not having bodies and dudes getting tired. I know that a positive was that because Kentucky's offensive line was, I'll go ahead and say it, soft compared to offensive
They
lines
sucked.
that they've had in the past. Kentucky fans can like debate all they want and, oh, you guys lost, you took the L, take your L, whatever. Objectively speaking, Kentucky's offensive line is not very good this year. I don't know about like what Georgia's is going to look like or what Tennessee's is going to look like, but the positive was that the defense by forcing Kentucky into 3-and-outs or shorter drives, that they had a much lower snap count to work with than they did the week before. I want to say that it was like Dexter played like 71 snaps against Utah, but he only played like 47 against Kentucky, and Kentucky only had like 62 or 63 plays. So that's a much better sign moving forward if we can get the offense off the field to give our guys a rest, because we just don't have the bodies. But they look good. They just keep up the way they're playing, not missing too many assignments. Making tackles when you do is such a beautiful thing to see. Guys flying to the ball, it's great.
Yeah, I thought the linebackers played great. Cox is becoming what we all wanted Cox to be, and he was bullying the tackles, and Gervon was getting in there too. It was just making everybody. Cox's play was making everybody's play better in terms of the front seven, and same with Ventrell, which was so tough when he left. We don't know yet. It's only Tuesday as we record, and I think we get the injury update tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
But if he's not there for Tennessee, then that's a huge loss for us, because he was just integral to the game. So that was tough.
I don't know how much information we're really going to get on Wednesday. I feel like we're just going to get the depth chart drop, and it's just going to either be he's in the starting lineup or it just says he's out, and we have no idea how long he's out for.
Yeah, well, we'll see this weekend. If he's in street clothes, then that sucks. But if he's at least dressed and ready to play, maybe gets in for a couple snaps, then that's fine. But yeah, we're gonna need him come for our SEC play coming up, man. It's gonna be we got Tennessee, Eastern Michigan, and then is it LSU next? No, it's Missouri, then LSU. So we're gonna need Ventrell, especially for Tennessee and LSU. But yeah, I didn't understand why we didn't run the ball. That was really the only thing that worked all evening. Was kind of the only thing that really worked was ETN up the gut. I don't know how many yards he ended up with, but that was the only thing that really worked, and we should have ran that to set up the running game and the play action. But I don't really know what was going on with the play calling. A lot of that was just kind of suspect. It was kind of confusing at times what the plan was.
Yeah,
this offense is supposed to be. Sorry about that, Doug. But this offense is supposed to be run, and then play action, vertical throwing. And I feel like we're seeing a lot of these horizontal throws that we used to see all the time under Dan Mullen. And just not being as successful. And it's almost like the horizontal running, just getting the running back out to the outside, where we have really good running backs that know the system. Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne, like they know how to run between these tackles, and they can do it really well.
Yeah, and Johnson had that long burst run that was
about a 40-yard run.
Yeah, but it was followed up by a 3-and-out.
Well, and I think that some of that, I will say that I think we sit back and we question the play calling, but I'm not ready to kind of jump on. I know Napier said, we've got to do a better job of coaches. Sometimes we got, you got to make sure that you put your guys in the right position, and he was taking a lot of responsibility. But I think that was, as a good coach, you're not going to throw your players on the bus, and that's good to see. But I will say that I think that we saw some of the horizontal passes because, Richardson kept missing. He missed twice to shorter early, which is what he said kind of was like, okay, what am I doing? Like, shot his confidence down. He felt like he wasn't going to be good enough. He got in his own head or whatever. Then he missed the one that would have been a home run. Had a decent throw onto the outside. I think it was shorter again in the slot. That would have been a home run. So you miss those throws like that. You start overthrowing, or you're like, get him those easy completions horizontally to um, to get his confidence back. Kentucky's defense just did a really good job of arresting those plays right there at the line of scrimmage because they have a solid defense. That said, Shorter was torching whoever number one is. Like he was wide open on a lot of plays, and it's frustrating that Richardson went through a lull because man, if you hit a couple of those plays like that, we could have beat them by several touchdowns if Richardson's even, like I said, just a little bit more on. And they have
After the
to.
game, I saw everybody on Twitter was like, we just need to focus on recruiting and getting good guys in here. And I mean, Justin Shorter and Ricky Pearsall, those are the kind of guys you want, and they're getting open. But Richardson wasn't hitting them. I mean, that's not to say that he's not going to be able to ever hit them, but he wasn't hitting them on Saturday, and that wasn't really the play calling. There wasn't really the issue, but the play calling, like we talked about earlier, the fourth down, that shit was crazy, and I think that was. I mean, you could say that is a big reason we lost the game is because they botched that call and we didn't get the ball back. Or well, we did get the ball back, but they got 10 points off those two failed first or fourth downs.
Yeah.
So.
Florida actually ran two more plays than they did against Utah, and they rushed it 11 times more. Or I'm sorry, they threw it 11 times more than they did against Utah. They had 39 carries in the first game and 30 carries on Saturday, and the average was only 4.5 yards a carry. So credit Kentucky's defense; they played really well. But I think that's part of, like I said, the not going down vertical. It's just Richardson was missing throws, and you're not going to throw the kid under the bus as the coach. I don't want to throw him because at the end of the day, you win as a team, you lose as a team. But I think that was just the big thing. And it, like we've said several times, it's Kentucky's not a bad team. They're a good team.
Yeah.
I hope they win a lot of games this year. Just because, it makes the loss look a little bit better. So this is what it is. Tough one to take, but it'll be all right.
So I'll take any opportunity I can to shit on Todd Grantham. So Utah's linebackers, if you watched like Diabate, how lost he was at all times, he always got caught in the wrong lane, running the wrong way, doing stuff in the Utah game, which made our running game really successful. And I wish that we could have Todd Grantham linebackers on every team that we play this year. Because Kentucky's linebackers weren't. They were really good. They were really stout. They made it really hard to do what our game plan was. And what worries me is we didn't adjust very well. And that's going to be a problem moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
But I hope that the running game doesn't take a hit on that front because we need to really run the ball down people's throats. That's our bread and butter. That's what we're known for. That's the brand that Billy wants to have.
Bully ball. Want to play a little bully ball. Yeah, I there was a couple things that kind of confused me. Well, the first one is why Kentucky in the first half they were throwing to the tight end, and that was killing us. If they'd have done that all afternoon, then I think they might have blown us out. I don't know why they quit. And then they only had 2 rushing yards at the half. So, and they gained, I think, 70 in the second half. So what they changed something up, or I don't really know what happened, but Kavosier Smoke started to get loose on some bigger runs, and they adjusted. But you're right, the adjustments were kind of, that was concerning for sure. I don't think that I would have thought that the offense would have came out doing something a little bit different, but it got worse in the second half. It got worse. So I think Richardson only maybe had maybe 20 yards in the second half. We'd have to check that, but I mean, yeah, it was pretty bad. And that's not to say he's a bad quarterback. I mean, he has, as you know, the best toolbox in college right now. But he had a bad game. You know, it does happen. Fucking Peyton Manning never beat Florida, but he's pretty good. Yeah, we made him look like a clown though.
I don't want to say I told you so, but I know that I don't know if I said it on the show last week or if I just mentioned that he needed to improve his passing, but I know that I have said in text that it seems like everybody's like, "Oh, he's going to go into the draft this year." And I was like, "I don't know. I just feel like he has to improve at throwing the ball before he can really improve his draft stock, before he can really become a top 10 pick like everybody says he is." And one sample size is not enough to say that he can't be drafted high. And I am not an NFL scout, and I'm not even an expert at football. But I would say that it appears that he will likely stay another season, because I just don't see an NFL team going after him. It doesn't matter how fast he is. It doesn't matter how athletic he is, because everybody on the defensive side of the ball in the NFL is fast. And if Kentucky, with guys that are, not that they don't have a sound defense, but that the best player on their defense is Jordan Wright. And, if they, with guys that are not the most talented in the world, talented players, but not the most talented players in the world, not the best of the best, if they can contain him, then and force him into bad throws, then he has a lot of work to do. So I think this
he definitely does have some growing to do. And one thing he was doing that I was like, he needs to kind of cut it out, is he's throwing fastballs at these guys. He's breaking fingers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it would be nice if he, took a little bit off of it on a crossing route. You don't need to, break the speed, the radar gun. So that would have been nice. And I think he adjusted that as the game went. But in the first half, he was, like pegging guys. It was crazy.
I miss those Kyle Trask just touch balls. It was always in the perfect place. It was a perfect rainbow. But yeah, AR, that's something he has to work on. I think he's a little worried about the windows and people put like batting balls and stuff. We've seen him have like tipped interceptions. Obviously, we saw the one that happened against Kentucky where he hit it with one hand and then caught it with two as it was almost hitting the ground and almost ran that back if it wasn't for AR getting that last second tackle. But AR's got to calm his nerves a little bit, take some CBD oil or something prior to a game, and just get his feet like set and get in the throwing motion. He's got a clean pocket. Usually, for the most part, there's no one really pressuring him. I mean, the stats about QB sacks and pressures through 2 games is astronomical. But also the stats of no throwing touchdown through 2 games is a pretty bad look too.
I will
So
say that what is scary looking at his statistics throughout his career, he's attempted so he was 1 of 2 in 2020. I think that was in the Cotton Bowl. Doesn't matter, too small of a sample size. But last year he completed 59% of his passes. He was 38 of 64, and if the trend, and I know he didn't play much, so he's got a lot of time to get better and everything. It's just one of those. I mean, 6 touchdowns, 5 interceptions last season. A couple of those came against Vanderbilt. It's one of those things that it makes me pause. Like I said, I was joking about, he did the Heisman thing when he broke the guy's ankles on the long touchdown run in the game against Utah, and I was ready to crown him. And now it's like kind of looking at it gives me a little bit of pause to say he's got a lot of work to do throwing the ball before now I feel a little bit less comfortable. Like I need to see a lot more improvement. And hopefully some of that comes this weekend against USF.
Yeah, but you want him to be, that's like your heart is telling you like, oh, please be another Tebow, just out of nowhere, just rock star season, that's what we all want to see. So we want to believe it. So I don't, I don't regret the early Heisman talk because he played like a Heisman winner in the first game. It was pretty cool, but he looked pretty pedestrian last week. We'll see
You
how
know,
he does.
what game he
Upcoming.
looked like a Heisman winner in last year? The USF game. That was dirty. And we're coming
Yeah,
up against the same people this weekend.
yeah, yeah, and the LSU game for sure.
Well, he
But
threw
yeah,
2 or 3 picks in that game.
I know, but he scored every time he touched the ball. That he didn't turn it over. It was crazy.
If
We
Jordan
would have
Travis can
never.
score, then Anthony Richardson can score.
Oh,
At
I
the
think we're
very
gonna. I
least.
think we're gonna kill LSU. I think they're down bad. But let's kind of move on to our USF preview. Obviously, the Kentucky game was I wouldn't call it a disaster or a catastrophe or the worst thing I've ever seen, but it was definitely not good. But we get USF again this weekend. It's a rematch of last year. It's another. Is it 7 o'clock or 7:30?
7:30.
It's a 7:30 game in the swamp once again. So we're all going to be tired as hell when we get back home. Um, let's see. USF is 1-1. They lost their first game to BYU 50-21, and they won last week versus Howard 42-20. Yeah, they have the same coach they've had the past few years. I think his name is Scott something Scott. Um,
Great Scott.
yeah, great Scott. Yeah. Uh, Yeah, I mean they're not very good. They look pretty bad. I watched some of their tape earlier. Their front seven looks tiny. Their offense looks pretty bad. Their quarterback is kind of fast. Um, but I mean this should be a get right game for the Gators for
Yeah,
sure.
definitely
Yeah,
should
we
be.
finally get to roll into where some of our rivals have been playing nobodies and uh, talking about how happy they are being 2-0.
Yeah,
It's like I'd obviously I'd rather be 2-0 with a win against Kentucky, but if I have to be 1-1 playing quality teams, we're okay. I like where we're at. Even Kentucky's 2-0 because they played Miami of Ohio week 1. So um, yeah, it's a nice little confidence booster. Hopefully, you know, I think the team is going to stay humble. Hopefully, the fan base isn't ready to lose their minds and crown them again as national champions. But I, I don't even know. I know nothing about USF, so I just know that we beat the hell out of them last year with Dan Mullen and a Todd Grantham defense. So they may not score this weekend, which would be really really cool. Uh, and we might score a billion points, or we may not. I don't know. We might only score like 30, which would be sad. But
When's the last time we had a shutout? I feel like since Todd Grantham, it's been so long.
I'm gonna Google that.
But anyway, their
I don't
first
know.
game against BYU. BYU's a pretty good team this year. I know a couple people famously had them in their final four to start the year, which that might
Who
be going
did?
a little above and beyond. Um,
Who
one of
had them?
one of
Do
the
you want?
college game day hosts. Uh,
Oh, Desmond had a really fucked up looking bracket. I think they've all lost by now.
I think they have too. Um, but yeah, 21-50 to BYU. BYU is a pretty good school, pretty good team this year. But Howard, like Florida has, we haven't played a cupcake, and I wouldn't even say USF is that big of a cupcake. It's obviously a different tier, but imagine if Florida got Howard to start off the year,
Yeah,
how we would have been able to roll in there and just win games like that.
would have
So
crushed them for sure.
right, exactly. And now
And
that we
and they
finally get
didn't.
to crush somebody,
Yeah, USF is not that good. I mean, I watched. There was like a 3 minute highlight reel of the Howard game. Howard scored first. USF was only up 14-7 at the half. And as a 40-point favorite, they only beat them by 22. And they outgained USF through the air. So Howard looked pretty good in that game, and they were able to move on USF. And I think USF's defense stinks, even for a bad team. They're still a pretty weak unit. Their front seven looked pretty bad, and USF beat them up. They ran for 314 yards, averaged 9.2 yards per carry. I mean, we should be letting Etienne and Montreal just, eat and then get these guys out of here before the half and put the scrubs in. I would like a 50 burger. That's what I'm ordering this weekend.
Maybe we finally see Lingard.
Yeah, I bet he will get action. I bet he will.
I think that the thing that I want to see this weekend is no penalties. And it's been improved. I think we only had 3 last week. And the special teams was better. I think there might have been a hold on special teams. I think they got Whittemore for one. That would be because it's like, of course they play the game, and USF could every dog has its day kind of thing, and USF could come out and win the game if the planets align, but that's not going to happen. So I'm not worried about that. But I just want to see like coherent football, minimize mistakes, work on all the things with Richardson throwing the ball, running the ball really well, all those different things. Let's get our mojo back, kind of feel everything out a little bit, and no penalties, because I think this team can do it. And it's just nice that side of that aspect of the discipline aspect of the team is better. And it would be good to go into Tennessee kind of thinking about like, okay, like we know we can do this. Let's minimize our mistakes, because playing in that stadium is going to be difficult. And that's not to look past USF or look ahead, but it's like use this game as a way to try some things out, make sure that you're playing really clean, coherent football. Because at the end of the day, I'm not really concerned that our guys are going to lose to USF. Granted, we did allow Samford to put up like 70 points last season or whatever. But it's a different day. So you never know what can happen, I guess is all I'm trying to say. I don't want to like jinx it. I'm afraid
we're gonna fuck them up. We're gonna crush them.
Well, that's what I thought last week.
You're gun shy from last week.
I know. That's what it is.
You got to get your groove back, brother.
Man, I took so many lumps on Twitter. I gotta eat my humble pie.
No, fuck that. Spit it out. We're fucking Gator fans, dude. We have a superiority complex.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'll go into some things that I want to see. I don't want to see a 38 pass attempt stat line by Anthony Richardson. I do want to see some better route running. I mean, I don't think the route running was that awful by the wide receivers, but I want to see some clean throws, clean pockets. Richardson just stands in there, does what he needs to do, and then we run the ball. Like I want to see like maybe like 10, 12 passes by Richardson that are like confident throws, get him his confidence back, and then just run the ball like down their throat. After he gets to maybe 15, 17 attempts, I don't want to see any more. We better be up by enough where maybe Engel comes in and takes over the game.
Yeah, I personally I would like to leave at halftime. So I hope we get out early, get the starters, get some good reps, get, like you guys said, get a little bit ready for Tennessee, maybe try a couple things out, and then get Richardson out of there. He's still the most important player on the team by far. And, especially after losing Ventrell, we need to get out of this weekend healthy. That's a big thing I want to see this week. And I like what you said about. I don't think we want to see a ton of pass plays. What I want to see is boring plays that explode because we execute them. I don't want to. We don't need to be doing trick plays or like flashy throw the ball down the field. If you run the ball into their front seven a bunch of times, then you're going to break some long ones. and we're gonna crush them. So I want to see a boring game where we get healthy. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, let the talent take over at some point in the game and just bust open a couple big ones, run them open. Kind of like what we saw with like Jacob Copeland. Like obviously not on the team anymore, but last year he had some huge plays that just like took him into the end zone. I want to see that
Hmm.
with Shorter. I want to see that with Pearsall. I want to see that with ETN and Johnson too. I want to see them
Hmm.
bust open like a 60-yard run and take it to the house. Because I think this offense can do that.
Yeah,
So and
yeah, for
on
sure.
the defensive side of the ball, we've seen like the Cox like homecoming parade with him finally understanding that he can bull rush people instead of having to like sprint around them to get to the QB. And I'm excited to see what he does against these tackles that just aren't really that great. Like I can't say USF tackles are that great. I want to see him just bull rush people, get some sacks. This could be one of those games where it was like the Miami game in what was that 2019 where we had 10 sacks. Like I want to see the defensive line living in the backfield. I want to see our linebackers to actually like do some good coverage. I don't think we have that great of linebacker core. I think it's still a little bit of like a hangover from the Todd Grantham era. I want to see like a Shamar James show where he's out there.
Hmm.
If Ventrell's not healthy, if he's not in this game, I want to see Shamar James taking over and living all over the field. He's in a lot of plays. He's getting a lot of tackles. I want to see at some point another safety maybe behind Trey Dean come in and play some good reps and look good. It's kind of like what we saw Torrance in the past 2 years. He came in and he looked really good, was making tackles. And I haven't seen the best work from Trey Dean this year. So maybe like someone like Collier Collar, Kamari Wilson, one of those younger guys just come in and start blowing people up. That's what I want to see out of the
Yep.
defense.
Yeah, I think the good thing. I think that's the good thing about this game is that it is an opportunity to to gain gain confidence. What can the team do? I think we know that they can win close games because they won um, a close one against Utah and a really good Utah. And I think the thing is that like if last week is the floor for how the team can play on offense, I'm not worried. Like get these guys the confidence like hey, these throws can be made. This I can cover this guy. Even I know that USF is not a great football team. They're a pro, they're in a perpetual rebuild it seems. They've had like a million coaches in the last few seasons. It's a smaller school with, and you're playing football in a state that has Florida State, Miami and Florida first and foremost uh as the football schools kind of thing. So it's tough for them. But you still, when you show yourself what you can do and remind, it's like the motion is the same. The throwing motion is the same, whether it's Georgia on the other side of the ball or whether it's USF on the other side of the ball. It doesn't matter. So get the confidence, like you guys are saying. Um, get some playing time for these younger dudes. That if it comes down to it, they take the job of the guy in front of them, and the other guy's got to go back to work and get better. It's like because Trey Dean's been here for forever, and I want to see the kid succeed, but he's got to do a little bit better job, than he's been doing. Um, so I don't know. It'll be. I'm so pissed that it's a 7:30 game because my body cannot take going, and tailgating for a few hours and then getting home at 1 a.m. I live in Gainesville and I've been getting home at 1 a.m. because the traffic's been so bad. And obviously, like, if against USF, if it's a blowout, most people are going to leave early, but it's just like, I don't even know if I want to go because it's like, it takes so much out of my day to be able to go and do this. So it's, you know, if I can be guaranteed that we'll play sound football and it'll look good and we'll get some confidence back and everything, then it'll be all right. It'll be a good one.
Yeah, I'm a little sad that I've missed some good football on like TV because I've been out tailgating every day because we have 7 o'clock games, and so you're just out drinking. You're not really paying attention. You might have it on your phone, or if you're lucky, your tailgate has like a TV with a dish. But I mean, I never thought I would say I miss noon kickoffs because then I can watch some more football. But I'm excited for Tennessee to be a 3:30 away game
Yeah,
'Cause-
finally we'll get a break.
Yes.
Yeah, a little bit. Liver's probably going to get the same kind of beating it normally
Yeah,
does.
no, no days off for him. All right, well, let's do some final score predictions, boys. I'll kick it off. I really want to see the offense just execute and do well, and I think if we do that, and our defense, I'm not. It's hard to say you expect a shutout, but I think that we have the defense and they have no offense. So I mean, this could be a shutout. So I think that it's going to be 56-7. We're going to get our 50 burger, and we're going to be able to munch on it all the way there. We're actually going to be eating burgers at the tailgate, so hopefully we'll be eating one, during the game too. Who's next?
Go ahead, Peyton.
I was going to ask if you had found out that stat about the last time we shut a team out, or is that too hard to
Anytime
find
you
out?
Google the last time Florida shut out an opponent, the only results that get returned are the last time that Florida was shut out. And I'm like, that's not what I'm asking. So I'm not very good at Googling things, I guess. It was like 1988 for those that are wondering. We haven't been shut out.
Yeah,
in a
I was
long
wondering. I
time.
was like, I don't think it's been.
Yeah, longest active streak in the FBS currently. But
Is that right? For real? We do?
Football school.
yeah, we do.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but if you're too coy to say, I'll say it. Whatever the last time was isn't going to matter anymore because the next time that we shut somebody out is going to be this Saturday when the South Florida Bulls roll into the swamp at 7:30. I think that we're going to have 40 points, 42 points in the first half, and we won't score in the second half because we're just going to take all the starters out and it's not going to matter. But that USF still sucks enough that they won't score against our scrubs on defense. 42-0. Go Gators.
So no faith in Engel or Kitna.
No, I don't
mean-
know. I don't know enough about it.
Well, who do you think? Let's say we are blowing them out. Who do you think is the first QB to roll out after AR?
I didn't even know that we had a quarterback named Engel, so I'm going to have to say Kitten on that one.
So Engel is our walk-on QB.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get to play. No, sorry. But if
No,
for some reason we're like up 70-0, maybe.
Hey, maybe Whittemore. Didn't he play quarterback in high school?
No,
yes,
he
he
did.
did. I think so. Oh, I know his little brother Creed is the starting QB of my high school, Buholtz, who I've actually got to see play a little bit. That man is fast. He jukes really well. I'm excited to have him as a wide receiver on the team. But anyway, I will go ahead with my prediction. I think the defense looks good. I think we're still too close to the Todd Grantham stink fest, so I don't think we shut them out. So I'm going to say that we win 47-10. I think they get a last-second touchdown when all of our starters are out and we have like our third string in.
No 50 burger from either of y'all boys. Disappointing.
Well, that's because we're going to be like all over them in the first two quarters. So like they're going to pull the starters.
We're gonna get 30 minutes of playing time. What do you expect? All right, that wraps it up for this week. I'll see you all at the Swamp once again on Saturday night for the Burger Fest. Next week we'll be back for the Tennessee preview. Till then, I'm Champ Brantley, and this is Working Silly.
Woo!